Welcome to the 3D printed wall art mini-series. In this video I will show you how to create a few variations of wall art based designs in Blender. I'm going to give you several options so you can choose what fits best for your project. I'll show you single piece and multi-piece base designs. I'm going to show you this for two basic shapes, a square or a rectangle base and a round base. These videos are mainly to show you the techniques, so for demonstration purposes and keeping filament cost in mind, I'm going to keep it to prints that fit on a single print bed, which will be about 22.5 by 22.5 centimeters. All these bases can be scaled to your own liking. Just a quick disclaimer for choosing a base. You can make projects fit on a single large piece that barely fits on your print bed, but that doesn't mean that you should. There are plenty of reasons that can cause this to go wrong. It might be better to part it out into smaller pieces if this visually doesn't impact the end result. Warping of large flat surfaces is a known issue. Prototyping and failed prints can cost a lot more filament. It's easier and cheaper to reprint smaller parts. And that's just to name a few, but you do you. Now, let's hop over to Blender and get started. This is the first part where you can just follow along as well. So you're going to create a new file, general file, and I will try to remember to call out all key presses, but it's in the left bottom corner. There's also the indicator. As you can see, it will show everything that I type or do as well if I skip something. So let's start off with our basic file settings. As mentioned before, we are first going to save this file, and I'm just going to call it 3D printed wall art bases. So we can put all the bases in this single file and we can reuse or append them to new projects later. I will show you that as well. We're going to save this file, and from now on we should also get auto saves every 2 minutes as well. First of all, I'm going to change the render setting. So on the right we go to the render settings and I switch to cycles, put it on GPU compute, max samples, 128. And then the next part is changing the units. So we go to the scene properties, units, unit scale 0.01. You can just type the number. If you're hovering on one of these bars, you can also drag with the mouse. You can see it changing in the viewport as well. But we know what we want, so 0.1, and I'll set length to centimeters because that works better for our build plate sizes. Then on the top, on the overlays, we will scale the grid to 0.01 as well. And if we hit N, we get the item menu and we can see that we are in centimeters now. And the grid is scaled accordingly. So now we have a base to start from. We have three things visible on the screen now. This one is a light source. This one is a camera and a default cube. If we select one of these, you also see in the top right, there's an eye icon. This is the viewport. If you hover on it, it tells you that as well. So you can view and hide things in the viewport. And if something is invisible in the viewport, that doesn't mean it won't render it. So that's what the second camera icon is for. So you can choose whether things are visible in the viewport or in your final render. So for this light source, I'm going to hide it in the viewport. And for the camera, we don't need that now. I'm gonna hide it as well. And the default cube, we're going to select and delete. I hit the delete key. Now I'll undo that. You can also press X, then it will confirm if you want to delete. So because my left hand is on the WASD keys, the X is closest. That's why you will see the delete pop-up as well. Now in the right top corner we can keep things organized, so I'm going to right click, new collection, and I'll call that collection basis. This will also make it easier later on if you want to append these objects into other files as well. You can choose which collection you want to import from a Blender file. Okay. And now we can start building our base. We're going to handle several topics. I'll start off with the individual bases. So large bases that can fit on a print bed at once. I'm going to hit Shift A. Then we're going to add a mesh. And we can go either plane or cube. I like to use the plane. And now we can scale it up. And this is where we have to do a little bit of math to figure out how big that we want to create our grid. So let's say we want 22 by 22 centimeters. We can do that in several ways. On the right you have the dimensions. We can change those. If you select one value and you drag the mouse down, you can select multiple at once, and we can drag the mouse to scale it up. If you hold Shift, you get more finer controls. So these are some basic Blender controls, but we can select those and we can just enter 22 and it scales it right to the size that we can use. And you also have the other option, that's, Control Z. We are, as you can see in the left top corner, now in object mode. If we have the object selected and we press Tab, we go into edit mode. And you can scale this here as well. When you do this in edit mode, as you can see on the right, you don't see how much it scales. The item size is gone. So if we go back to object mode, if we press S for scale, you can see what the dimensions will be. So several options how to do this, and also here you have all the options as well in the menus to manually click on them. So you have the transform, move, rotate, scale with the hotkeys also listed. So those are the places that you can find all your transform settings and so on. So for now, I'm just going to hit Ctrl Z. As what I like to do, I just select these values, 22. And as you can see now, the scale has changed because we scaled it. So it's important to apply the scale. So when we hit Ctrl A, you can apply all transforms or only the scale. And this means that when you go to rendering, when it starts processing all the data, your scale won't be wonky, so to say, because it will apply that scale in all the calculations. So if the scale is 1, it's fine. That's the default value that it should have. That's the Blender scale. So your object is 1:1 scale now in all axes. I hope I explained that correctly. There's a lot more to it, but that's the easiest way for me to explain it. So now we have a square of 22 by 22 centimeters. In the right top corner, we can name this as well. Square base. Because we have 22 by 22 centimeter, we can start thinking about how large we want our grid portions to be. Now, if we divide 22 through 11, we get pieces of 2 centimeters with a nice center column. So that will be 11 rows in each direction on the X and the Y axes. The X and the Y axes in the viewport are, as you can see here, this is the green one. It's the Y axis, and the red one is the X axis, and Z is through the model on top to bottom. So now we're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. And now we can manipulate these vertices. So the points are vertices. And here in the left top corner, you also have the 3 options. This is the select mode vertex, select mode edge, and select mode face. And you can also access those modifiers by hitting the numbers, the number row on your keyboard. So 1 is vertex, 2 is edge. So now we can select edges and manipulate the whole edge. And 3 is faces. And it's hard to see now, but there will be a dot in the center of each face to show you what a face is. So I'm going to hit A. So now we're going to hit Ctrl R to make cuts. And as you can see in the top, it shows you the number of cuts that it wants to do, and it will cut according to the edge that your mouse is aiming at. So we can choose on which axis that we want to cut this surface. And by cutting it, it means it will place vertices on these points. It won't separate the parts from this object. So we want 11 rows. We want to cut up our 22 centimeters in 2 centimeter rows. So we need 10 cuts to get 11 rows, if that makes sense. So we can scroll up, or we can just type 10 and hit enter. That's the same as scrolling up and clicking once, and then it's still not applied. You can move the mouse around, and I moved it from the center, so that's unfortunate. If I click now, it won't be on center anymore. So I'm going to right click, and then these cuts are applied now. So we are in the edge mode now, so we can select edges, and as you can see, these have all been separated. And if we go to 1, we can see all the vertices. So that's one side done. Now we're going to do the same to the other one. So Ctrl R, aim your mouse, then enter, enter, and we have a nice little grid going on. I hope that was fairly straightforward to follow, and now we're going to edit some thickness as well. I think I rotated something. So let me start over real quick. I'm going to delete all vertices, Shift A. I want a plane. I'm going to tap out, scale it to 22 centimeters, Control A, apply the scale. Control R, tap into edit mode, Control R, then enter, enter, Control R, aim at the edge, then enter, enter. So as you can see, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot quicker. So now this is a very flat surface. There's nothing going on. So now we're going to raise it a little bit. because we are in the centimeters, let's see, we will go for about, let's say 5 millimeters thickness. So you can either hit A to select all vertices, or you can drag your mouse. You can select all the vertices. You can move around with the middle mouse button to make the view more comfortable, or make sure that you just select everything. There's also something that happens to me quite often. If you hit W, you change the selection option. So now I have a sort of paintbrush selection tool. If I hit W again, I get this free draw line art selection tool. If I hit W again, it's different once more. It just takes the closest vertex. You have to see that I don't mess up the grid again. And if I hit W once more, I get back to the normal selection tool that I like to use. Keep that in mind. If it changes, then that's probably the cause. It happens to me all the time as well. Now we have our grid. We're going to scale it to 5 millimeters. So hit A to select all. Now we're going to hit E for extrude. Extrude means you can pull on a surface. Once again, in the top, you can see what we're scaling to. With Shift, you can make the control finer, so to say. But we can also do 0.5 and hit enter. And then we're at 5 millimeters. We can check with our grid. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeters. And that's it for a square base. A single base that should fit on a normal sized print bed. Maybe not the A1 mini, but you can scale this however large or small that you want. But this is a single piece print. You can change this also into a rectangular base. Keep in mind that if you, for example, scale this to 44 centimeters by 22, you need to calculate the rows that you want to have a nice grid on the top that's proportionally sized as well. So for now, I'm going to hide our square base. I can also press H to hide the object. And as you can see, that removed it from our viewport. And if we press Alt H, it will show it again, but it will show everything again. So once again, light, H for hide, camera, hide, object, hide. Now we're going to create a round base as well. I'm going to hit Shift A, and we can start this off with a cylinder directly. Now we place this object, and on the bottom here we have our Add Cylinder menu. Oh, yeah, the mouse overlay screencast key thing is in the way a bit, but now for this round base we can select the vertices. So we are at 32 vertices now, and if we're going to print this, this will be fairly visible in the print. So I like to raise this to, normally I take 360, and the radius, if we set this to, for example, let's take the same size, we want 22 centimeters, so we need to put this at 11, and as you can see, we're at 22 centimeters now, because it's the radius that's from the center to the edge, so it will be doubled. Then for the depth, we can put this in straight away, 0.5. And there we have our basic round base. Now, if we tap into this, this is not really something to work with at this moment. So that's because it will fill the top with a single face. And that's not really something that we can edit on in the next part. So I'm going to hit 3 to select faces. I'm going to select the center. And if I hit Alt Z, you go to some sort of a see-through view. And you can also see the tiny dots now that I mentioned, and each single face will have this dot to tell you it's a face. You can also see if faces are overlapping because there are dots in random spots. But let's select the center too. You can see the dot floating here. And the other one is exactly in the center on these other markers as well. And now we're going to hit X to delete the faces. And it will ask you what you want to delete now. If we delete the vertices, we lose everything. If we delete the edges, we will lose everything that's between the faces or keeping our edge together. So we don't want that as well. And if we remove the faces, it will keep what we want to keep. So make sure you're in bounding box center on top of here. And I'm going to select 2 for the edge mode. And when I Alt click, it will select the complete edge loop. So when I use single or use the mouse, I can select parts, but with Alt, I can select the whole loop. You can also see in the left bottom corner, you can see it changing to loop select. And with Shift, it's toggle select, and Control is pick shortest path. So there are several selection options as well with each button press. So now we have this selected. I'm going to hit Shift, Alt, and hit the bottom edge as well. So I have both loops selected now, and I want to pull these inwards. So we're going to hit E for extrude again. This will extrude all the faces, and because we have nothing to guide our mouse, it will do so randomly, or where you're aiming at. But we can force it to scale on certain axes. So with this still selected, not clicked, we're going to hit S for scale. And now we can scale to the center. So we do have to make sure that if something else happens, I'm going to right click now for demonstration purposes. On top here, we have to make sure we're at bounding box center. And this will get the center of everything that's selected. So it will see that this is what we have selected, and the bounding box center, everything that's from our selection is the center point. 3D cursor, that's this nice colored circle. We can move that around with Shift right click as well. And with Shift S, we can put the cursor back to the world origin. And the small orange dot is the origin from our object. So you can set the origin to the geometry or to the 3D cursor as well. This is important if you're starting to do rigging or making certain objects interact with each other. For our modeling, it doesn't matter that much if it's just in the center of the world, in the world origin place. It doesn't bother us, and it won't affect anything. You just have to keep in mind, if you're scaling things, what your pivot point is set to. We can also quickly switch between these options with the point button on your keyboard. If you keep that pressed, you get all the options, and you can just hover or hit a number. So if I go with my mouse on the left and I let go, it will switch to that. So that's how you can switch. For everything's a keybind, and you can switch very fast if you're getting the hang of it. So to get back where we were, we have this. Okay. So it didn't do anything, but it was on top of the other vertices and edges, so we didn't see it. So I'm going to delete these and I'll start over from my part. You can continue where we left off. So Alt, Shift, Alt, we have both loops now. E to extrude, S to scale. And as you can see, if we scale now, it will also get smaller or closer together, because it scales everything to the center of the part. So if we're scaling, it will also change the height. And we don't want that. We want a nice flat surface. So I'm going to press Shift and Z, and this will lock the axes. So as you can see, it scales nice to the center, but not on Z. And we can also do this for Shift X, Shift Y. It will skip that axis. You can also hit Shift C a couple of times. As you can see on top here, it's locking global, it's locking nothing, locking local. So yeah, you can lock the axes. You can pick what axis that you want, and you also see in the bottom of the screen, you see all the help options. There are a ton for the scale function. And also with this, you can see the scale that we're applying here. You can also type a number. So let me just right click. I'm going to change the view, snap it to top, S to scale. And now we can see that we have about, on our grid, you can see how much we have left. So let's keep the inner 2 centimeters left. And as you see on top on the scale, it should be about 0.9. If we do 0.09, it should give us almost 2 centimeters of the grid. It's very close. And now for these final pieces, I forgot to lock the axes, as you can see. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z, S, then 0.09, Shift Z, Enter. And then we get the result fairly quick. Now I want to close these loops as well, so I'm going to hit F. And because they were 2 individual loops, not connected or anything, it will create a face in each loop. We tap out of it. This is what you will see when printing. It's just a nice flat round surface with about 360 lines in it. So for every degree we have a line now, and this will also make sure that if we're printing, that we get a nice curved edge without too many chopped up edges, because sometimes there's just not enough detail and you can visually see where the circle was created, and I don't like that. Now, to give us something to work with as well, I'm going to hit R in the center, and because we have a center now and it sees this as edges, this would not have been possible with the point in the center. We can now create several rings as well. So let's make about 4 rings, and then we have 5 parts to work with. So I clicked 4 rings, moved the mouse by accident, and hit right click, it will center it out, and they are there. So now you have a nice flat base to start our project from, one that fits on a single print bed as well. Now, last thing to do is to give it a name. So this is our round base. And we can also put 22 centimeters in there, just to make it easier to find them. We do the same for the square base. And you can toggle them show them those are the things that we will work with. Now let's start and get into the multi-piece bases as well. These follow the same principles, but we can scale them up to larger wall art pieces, like the Copper Vortex piece. It was 35 pieces, all of 9-piece grid in it as well. So we're going to start over again, make sure nothing is selected, back to object mode, Shift A, new mesh, and we're going to start with a plane again. Or we can do the cube this time, it's basically the same. Let's do a cube. This is again like with the cylinder, you can change it here. This will be like the mini vortex. So I do want to fit it on a single print bed, but it will be separate printed parts. Just to teach you the techniques, but you can scale this up however large you want and however many dimensions that you want. But we're going to create a 9-piece grid from the Copper Vortex mini version. As I mentioned, we want 9 pieces. And if we divide the 22, I think the mini was 22.5. And that's because I used 3 times 7.5 centimeters. So we're going to do that here. Get 2 dimensions, 7.5. And for the z-axis, you can put it at 0.5 again. So there we have a basic square grid as well. And I'm going to snap to this grid axis. And as you can see, the origin is in the center, but we are below our axis line or world value 0. So I'm going to hit Shift, Control A, transform, and apply the scale of all transforms. Hit Tab to go to edit mode, everything selected. G to move everything on Z axis, so I'm going to hit Z. Now we can move it up so it's flush with this red line, but it's very tough to do, so I'm going to punch in the numbers 0.25 because 5mm thick, we need 2.5mm, and you hit enter and then it will align nicely. Now this will be our grid. We're going to cut it up. Ctrl R for cut. Then we need 2 cuts to get it into 3 pieces. I believe the mini was 3 pieces. And then on the other edge as well. And there we have it, a basic grid of 9. And now we're going to get into the fun stuff, and that's modifiers. So on the right, we hit modifiers. That's a little wrench icon. So hit add modifier. And I want the array modifier. My mouse was already on generate. As you can see, there's array. You can also, when you hit add modifier, just start typing and it will show you the results and where it's from. So I'm going to add a array. What this does, it will basically duplicate the item that you have and create an array of those items. And as you can see here on the right, we have some things to play with. You have count, offset method, offset, rotation, and scale. Now I think that I want it to the other side, just like working from left to right. So I'm going to hit offset -1. This will flip it to the other side. And if we play with this value, you can also drag it And you can see there's some spacing will be created in between the pieces. And because we know that our base item, you can't see it anymore, but it was 22.5 centimeters because we had a 7.5 by 7.5 centimeter object. This dimension changed now because it calculates the whole piece with modifiers as the object. So keep that in mind. If this changes, that can be due to the modifiers that you are applying. But for this, I just want a little bit of space between these so we can see how they fit together. So I'm going to hold Shift, move them together, and about minus 1.01 is fine. And we have probably a millimeter in between. So that's nice. And we have the count 3. You can move this up as much as you want. So go over the horizon if your PC can calculate everything. But we'll go with 3 because that's 22.5 centimeters that will fit on our printhead. Now we're going to create another array modifier, because if we're going to also add this value to the y-axis, it will just shift it over. That's not what we want. So I'm going to hit this arrow icon, hit duplicate, and now we get a double array. The only thing that I'm going to do is get this second value, copy it, Ctrl C, or you can just type it and put it at 0 and place it in the Y value. And now we have a nice grid of 9 pieces, which are also 9 pieces. Now, because this was the thing that I did with the Copper Vortex V1, when you're sticking this together, you might get some gaps in between the objects, and we don't want that. So what I created is a little V shape that hooks into the part next to it. And that's what we are going to create next. So I'm going to name this. And this is a square base part. And then 22.5 centimeters. Because that's the scale of the objects all fit together. So this is the parts one, and that's the normal one. So now that we have our parts grid, we are going to make the interlocking piece, which fits the parts together. So I'm going to hit Ctrl R to create a loop cut. That will loop around the whole object. Remember Alt Z to see through your object. That's very useful for this one. For example, if I'm snap to this face and I can't see through it, I'm going to switch to 1 to select vertices. If I select this, it will only select the visible vertice. So if with this see-through view I select this, it will select all the vertices. So that's what we need. So make sure with Alt-Z that you're in the right view. And I'm going to select both these sides. So you should have 2 edges selected now from that loop cut. Now we're going to hit G. And we are on the red axis that we want to change. So I'm going to hit X to snap to that axis. And now we can define how sharp this edge should be. Now we know that our piece is 5 millimeters high, so I'm going to put it at 0.25. That's not the direction that I wanted to, so to flip it over to the other direction, I'm going to hit minus as well. And now we have 2 nice 45-degree angles, because this one's a 90 and it's the half of the thickness, so you have two 45-degree angles that have no issues printing. That will interlock your pieces. And I worked on several solutions when working on this interlocking piece to make it as simple as possible. So the things that I tested was, for example, you can leave it where it is, but if we don't have this edge loop, if we put this at, let's say, 5 millimeters, this will work. Oh. So this works, but even if these pieces are slit under each other, you have a chance that if you're looking from, let's say, this angle, that you can see the bottom part. And that's not what we wanted. So that's why I use the double method. So that you get two interlocking sides. Because whichever angle that you look from now, if it's either from this side and there's a gap, you will look onto this surface. And if you see a gap from this angle, you will see this surface. So even if there's spacing between the panels, you should never be able to see the bottom again, or the back plate or the wall, whichever is there. You can also draw in Blender, but that's a different thing, but it's useful sometimes. My drawing skills are not great, but I hope it gives you some idea. Let me just remove that real quick and we can continue. So I will do this step again. G, X, 0.25, minus. Now we have our nice 45-degree angles. Okay. We're going to do the same for the other side. So I'm going to left click to deselect everything, select the two edges again, double check that I have the right vertices, snap to the x-axis. We are scaling or moving on the y-axis, so G, Y, 0.25, minus, flip it over, and then enter or clicking to confirm. And now we have the base of our completely interlocking grid. You can even place everything closer together now. So we can do this by just modifying the array. You can move them around. And at about minus 0.99, you have a nice gap, and it should still fit on one build plate. So if I hit tab, we are at 23.1 centimeter. We'll put the other one there as well. This one, minus 0.99. It will get a little smaller still on the 23 centimeters, because there's one more thing that we want to do. We now have this crease on the outside, and this side is pointing out as well. So that's what we're going to change now. So for this, we're going to apply the modifiers, because we cannot do that if they're still creating or modifying the parts that we want. Because this is being replicated on each part. So as you can see now, if we go to the array modifier, we cannot apply it. And it also tells you why, because it's not allowed from the edit mode. So we're going to hit tab to get out of edit mode, and now we can apply our modifier. So let's apply the first one and hit the arrow key on the second array and apply it as well. When we tap back into it, as you can see now, we have a parted out grid, which is a single object. So our modifiers are applied and everything is selectable now. There's no more copying of the other parts. Now we're going to remove those edges on all 4 sides. So let's snap to the x-axis with Alt-Z to make everything see-through. Select the center, most outer edge. With Shift and the middle mouse button you can move around in the orthographic view. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. Then with Shift, select the other center edge. We're going to move it on the green axis, that's the y-axis, G, Y, 0.25. And because that's exactly how much we scaled it to the other side, it should be straight with our edge. And I'm going to click to deselect everything, snap to the y-axis, select the most center edge again on the outside and on the left side as well. And then GX this time on the red axis, 0.25. And now, if we make everything visible again, we tap out to the object mode, you have a nice interlocking grid that you can work with as a base that doesn't show anything through to the bottom. So this is our basic, like the Vortex mini grid that we will work with for the square base as well. And now for the final base, I'm going to click this one, press H to hide it. We are going to make a round base out of parts as well. We have our round base here, which is a great starting point for what we need because we have all those circles and things added to it already. So I'm going to show you how you can duplicate objects. You can just right click this round base, and there's a copy option and the paste option, and there's also the duplicate objects. So under object, duplicate objects, and there are 2 duplicate options. You have duplicate object, that's Shift D. So if we have this selected, we do Shift D and we can move it wherever we want, or right click, it will be in the exact same place, but as you can see on the right, it did duplicate it. You also have the option to, let me select the original again, hide our copy because we need that. You also have Alt D, and let me move this one over to give you a better view. What Alt D does is it duplicates linked. So this can be a powerful tool, but just to be aware of it, if we change this one, for example, it will change the linked objects as well. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to use Shift D, that's for example this one. This one doesn't change with it because it's a duplicate that's not linked. This one is linked, so it will follow everything that the original does. So let me undo that for a moment. Okay. Now we can delete that one. You can also unlink. This will just delete the object altogether. So it's not that it remains and, like the name suggests, it unlinks it, it just vanishes. So we have our copy with Shift D. So I'm going to hide the original and show our copy. And I'm going to change the name, round base, 22 centimeters. When we tap into this, this has a lot of items, and I want to apply the same thing as before with an array. So we have a single piece that we can scale and print to a print bed. Just make it go around. So again, if you start with arrays, you have to do some math and figure stuff out. So let's take a look. That's why I created a cylinder with 360. So every degree, so that makes the math a bit easier. Every degree is like a piece or a face in this case. So every degree is an edge going to the center as well. So what we can do, I'm going to delete the faces. I'm not in the see-through mode, so if I hit X, delete the face, I have to do it again to get the bottom one. So that's our face. And I'm going to snap. And I'm going to hit 2 to go to the edge mode. And with Alt, I want to select this edge loop. So this will go to the center now, and it stops there. X, and I want to delete the vertices. Now it's completely disconnected between these pieces, because otherwise the edges in between those were still there. Then we're going to count. How many do we want? Yeah, we can go with 10. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we delete the next one to delete the vertices. So it's 3. And we have now, if I hit Control, I can select until the end. And my stats aren't visible. So in the right bottom corner on this bar, you can right click and you select the scene statistics. And this will show you what you have selected. As you can see now, I have 10 faces selected. So I don't have to count as much as I was doing, but yeah, to give you an idea as well. Then we have another button that's new, and that's the L key. This will select everything that's linked. Because we cut these pieces off, we can select this with L just by aiming at an edge or a vertex, hit X and delete all the vertices. And now we have this nice little slice of pie left. Now we're going to do some modifiers. And we're going to add the array modifier again. For the array modifier, there's also rotation options. And we basically want to spin this around. This will be 0. The offset on the X is 0, and we will use the Z axis. And as you can see, we get our 3 copies nicely spun around. Because we have split the cylinder into 360 parts, we can just count by degrees. 360 is full circle, so we have 10. So our angle should be 10 degrees. 360 divided by 10 degrees is 36 pieces. And there we have it, a nice circular base on which we can work with. Now this is still in the array, so let's hit A to select everything. And I just want to move everything from the center a bit so we can see just a bit better what's going on. So I'm going to hit Alt, turn the screen, snap it so I can see a bit better, G, and then X. But what this does, this changes it as well. So this is not completely what we want, because we want to scale it from the 3D cursor, or move it from the cursor, not the bounding box center of this piece, GX. Yeah, it's like 0.1. That's enough. Now we can see the individual pieces. So this gives us a bit more insight into what's going on. Now these pieces that we have, I'm just on the array modifier. There are also buttons like real time and render, just like above here. So we're going to disable the real time so we can work with our piece again. And as you can see, we don't have these edges on the bottom. So I'm going to hit Ctrl R on the bottom, 2, 3, 4. And they should be in the right place as well. And then we're going to close this all the way around. So we are still in 2 and in the edge mode. So I'm going to select this edge and I'm going to hit F to create a face. And because this can create a 4-point face, it will automatically do that for us. So hit F, hit F, hit F, and then we can continue that all the way around because we have a nice vertice grid going on. And now, just like with the square grid with the parts, we are going to create that interlocking edge again. So Ctrl R to create a loop cut, click it in the center. And now we want to select these two edges. So click the last one, and with Ctrl, you can pick the shortest part, and that's straight. And now we will do the same on the other side, but we'll keep this one selected. So let's hit Alt-C to make sure. Shift, click this edge, and then Ctrl to select the shortest part to this one as well. And now, because we're still on the pivot point 3D cursor, we can hit R for rotate, hit Z for the Z axis, and we can just move it around. I'm holding Shift now to make it go a little bit smoother. But let's see, you can also increase the where your mouse is from that center point to get more finer movements going on. But we can't really see what we're doing now, so I'm going to right click and snap to the Y axis. And now I'm going to hit R and Z again, and now I can see how far it goes. You can also snap to the top. That might be even easier. And then R, Z, and there you can see how far we are twisting. And as you can see on top, it's about minus 0.5. So that should give us enough of an angle to interlock the pieces. Just this is all scaled, and it's very hard to do otherwise, because the more you go to the center, the more gradual it gets. So that's how we create our round base. Now let's enable the array again. And as you can see, now you have nice interlocking pieces. You can also do this with more degrees, so to say, that you need less pieces. The only thing that's left is the center. I want to do this in object mode, not in edit mode. You can add things in edit mode as well. If we hit Shift A here, you can have the mesh and add a cylinder to this mesh. But if we do that now, our array modifier will also duplicate this centerpiece 36 times. So we don't really want that, and we still need that modifier for later. So I'm going to undo these steps, back to the object mode, and we're going to hit Shift A to add a cylinder. And this is almost what we want. So 360 degrees, yeah, is overkill for this piece, but it doesn't really matter. It's nice and round. Radius is about 1.075. Okay, yeah, that looks more like it. Okay, so now that we have this, we created a new object. So I'm going to give this the same name. Just double click this one, copy it, paste it here, and I add center. Or just behind the 22 centimeters, and it will nicely arrange it in the folder structure. So now we have a nice centerpiece as well, which can be printed separately. And there's one thing that I want to do as well, and to make it interlock just like the outsides. So on the right side, you can select both pieces now. Just hold shift pressed and click them both, and then you press tab. And as you can see, this will select both pieces. So for the round base part, you can click around here to switch between the modifiers as well. So for the round base parts, we are going to disable the modifier so we don't see it. For the centerpiece, we're going to loop cut it, so Ctrl R. And now I'm going to hit Alt C to show the vertices from the other part as well, from our base. I'm going to 1 to the vertex mode, and make sure that I don't select anything else, and then with shift I will select these vertices as well. So you should have the loop selected and this centerpiece. Because we are still on 3D cursor, we can scale this now. Shift Z to not scale on the Z axis, and we can scale this out. And we can do this the same as before. I will right click and snap to a view, or top view. So S, Shift Z, and scale. 5 millimeters high, so we need about 2.5. That's 1.25. I think you can double check that. And that looks like 2 45-degree angles. So now you can see these parts will interlock nicely in the center. We might go a little bit less, so Ctrl Z. I'm just going to not even snap the look, so scale, Shift C, 1.2. This gives us a little more gradual slope, because it's in the center and there will basically be no way to even see in there. And now if we view our array again, even with the see-through view, you can see everything comes together nicely to the center, and it will also have that interlocking mechanism to give it some rigidity, as well as not being able to see to the bottom of the piece, so you won't see a backplate or the wall. And that is our round base plate done as well, with an interlocking piece as well as in the center. And that will be it for the Blender base design video. I know some of you were eagerly waiting for this one, so I hope this gave you some ideas or new techniques to work with. Thank you for watching, and we'll continue with adding a surface and some textures to our base designs in the next video.